to after that, and for me, I don't know if you were worshiping, but all of us are, worship bubbles, whatever, takes me a little bit to recover. How's everybody? Man, I'm glad you're here today. I really am, because today is going to be a really important day in the life of our church. I get to share with you today some of the stuff that God's shown me. And as far as why do we do this? What's the point of it? And are we doing enough? Are we doing too much? Or, are we doing too little? Are we lazy? Are we misguided? It's good to hear from God. Let me tell you that. Now, if you're sitting here today and this is your first time in church and you're like, oh boy, here we go again. God said. Well, so he did. I don't know how to tell you. Once you experience the truth and the true nature of God and he starts talking to you, I'm talking about the creator of the universe, and he starts moving in your life and revealing things to you, dude, you're never the same again. You want to go back. I'm going to tell you where I'm coming from. A couple of weeks ago, we were in Nashville at getting ready for the Extreme Tour, and we were going through this interview process for the tour, and it was just an incredible, incredible time. But we went in this room, and we were meeting with this guy, and this is going to be later in the story, but I'm going to jump around a lot. So if you can't follow me, just stop me, man. I'll start over. So we were in this room, and it's like a concrete room. It was a green room backstage at this venue, and so it was just like, it was dull, man. Green walls, cinder block, a couple of couches, and the guy walks in with us. He locks the door. Anyway, this is a whole other story. You have to ask me about it some other time. As we start to talk and start to move, man, the kingdom of heaven floods this room. And so much to the point of, I'm looking around for a soft place to land. Like, I'm thinking, we're coming down and it's going to be a pile up. And at that time, at that moment, all I thought about, and this is crazy, this is how my mind works. I had like dogged Peter out for years at the Mount of Transfiguration. Like, God's there and Moses is there and Elijah's there. And Peter pops up in the middle of all this and says, hey, let's build some tents and stay here. But it wasn't until last week that I understood exactly what he was saying, because I would have lived there. I was like, I don't want this to end. I want to camp out right here. I never want to leave this place. I never want to leave this moment. When you encounter God, man, you understand what building tabernacles is all about. When you want to remain in that place. And here's what I think God does is he so consumes you at these times that you can't reproduce that ever. And you will spend the rest of your life seeking after that experience again. And when you seek and when you seek and when you seek, man, and you start to feel dried up and you start to feel like, man, it's been a while, all of a sudden God will level you again, and it's better than the last time. And you'll spend the rest of your life pursuing that and moving forward into that and more and more and more. And it's just unbelievable. It's incredible. So I want to tell you a little bit about what's been going on. About 7 years ago, God gave me a revelation of what our church should be. And he made it crystal clear. Now, it really wasn't a divine, like, wow, any dummy should have picked it up. It wasn't like, you're the only one in the world I'm going to give this to. It wasn't anything like that. It was like, it was extremely obvious to anyone, but I just missed it. So, some of us are a little slower, and we call that miraculous when God shows us things. A little paper. In 1 Corinthians chapter 3, this is where I was at last week when I was talking about what God's called us to as a church. Right after where I finished last week in 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 16, it says this: do you not know that you are God's temple and that God's Spirit dwells in you? This is Paul. He's talking to the church. Remember I was telling y'all last week about people who wanted to follow Paul and people wanted to follow Apollos, and everybody's like, yeah, Paul, and everybody's like, yeah, Apollos, and he was like, man, that's not right. We got to build on one foundation. That one foundation, Jesus is Messiah. We got to build the church on that foundation. Then he says, don't you know that you yourselves, and the word you there is plural in the language. Don't you know that Youans, that's what they say in Tennessee, Youans, hillbilly. Don't you know that Youans are the temple, the spirit, the dwelling place of the living God? Don't you know that we, the body, well, I'll get to that in a second. We are, the church is the temple place, the temple of the Spirit, the living God. A few pages over, and I don't guess Paul was writing on pages, but a few pages over in my Bible, in Romans chapter 12, verse 27, Paul says this. He's describing the way this temple works and the way the church works. And he says, now you are the body of Christ. Now Christ, everybody remember what Christ means? Messiah, right? The anointed one, the chosen one. You are the body, the embodiment of Messiah. Wow. That's cool. And I knew that. How many knew that? Have I heard that? Yeah. So, see, it wasn't that big a revelation. But it was to me, because here's what God showed me. Is the church has always tended to gravitate towards something. Usually one of these two areas. And the church then begins to war and battle, and there starts to be this division in the church. There's people in the church that are like, the church is the temple of the living God. And what God showed me is that the church is the temple. And there are certain things you do in the temple. The things you do in the temple, we worship in the temple, right? We come to the temple and we worship corporately together. We come and we praise and we worship and we sing out and we declare the greatness of God. We lift up or exalt. The word praise actually means to throw up. We throw up our praise, our worship to God. And man, it's so edifying. Don't you feel like when we worship together that everything else just kind of goes away in the background? It's so good. And we know that in the temple that we should be having teaching, right? Because you can't just have music because that's too cool. You got to have a boring message after, right? For it to be real church. So we have teaching, but I think the teaching shouldn't be, a pep rally. Shouldn't be like what you already know, man. We should teach and we should lead and we should guide you into the next phase. We should be always moving forward and always challenging you. If you leave here and you don't have questions, I've probably failed. You should leave here with more questions than you ever have answers. And if you get one answer, it should open up 10 more questions. And that's because we're challenged by the presence of God and we want to move into God. And I believe with all of my heart that in the temple, and what happened in the temple is the temple is a house of prayer. Without the temple being a house of prayer, then you have no presence. Prayer is the connection and the communion and the conversation with God. It's speaking to God and crying out to God, but also hearing from God, listening to what God has to say, being guided with God, entering into communion, personal communion, relationship with God. So this is what the temple's about. One of the greatest aspects that Jesus did in the temple was that's where he did a lot of his healing. The temple is a place of healing. Now, how many of you guys come in here and whether it was your first time here or whatever was going on in your life, when you came here hurting? How many people came here hurting when they first came here? I started this place because I was hurting. I was hurting. I was lost in this world, man. I'd found God, but I couldn't find him in life, And I was hurting and I was seeking and I was lost. And I think that the temple is a place of healing. So the temple is a place of worship, a place of teaching, a place of prayer, and a place of healing. And that's what the temple is about. But then there's this other school of church people, and they're like, we are the body of Christ. We are the body of Christ. We should be quit sitting around in our buildings and worshiping and praying and teaching. We should be out there living it, out there doing it, out there being the church. We should be out there serving the people of the world. And this is what the body of Christ, this is what Messiah came to do, to seek and to save that which was lost. This is what Messiah came to do, to restore a broken and hurting world. This is the body of Messiah. And it's mobile, and it's out there with sinners and prostitutes. This is what it was in the Bible. And tax men. The worst parts of society. The body, Messiah, came for the brokenhearted, the addicted, people whose marriages are falling apart, people who have given up on everything in life. That's why Messiah came. And the church is, in every way, the body of Messiah. But what God revealed to me was it cannot be either or. That if we're truly, truly healthy and we're truly walking out what it means to be followers of Jesus, we have to, at the same time, be the temple of God and the body of Messiah. Does that make sense? We can't just have one, because you know what a body is without a temple is a homeless person. And they get beat up. And they get tired and they get worn out and they get down and they're out there at war and they're warriors for God. But sooner or later, man, battle fatigue sets in. And if you're trying to do it like that, man, and you have no body, you're going to wear out and you're going to give up. You ever seen a house that's set vacant, though? A house without a body? What starts happening to the house? Yeah, rats. Snakes. Green stuff growing in the refrigerator, which is bad. Look, it's bad to have green stuff in your refrigerator, period. But green stuff growing is worse. Right. Okay, that's just a side point. You can take that or leave it. A house without a body is a vacancy. And I think a lot of churches today are houses without the body of Messiah. And I think there's a lot of bodies out there without a house. And I think there's this ongoing thing that's ineffective. And so what God showed me is that we have to be both and at the same time. We have to be the body of Christ in the temple of the living God. Now I knew that 7 years ago is what God showed me. But I didn't know how it looked. And I sure didn't know how to do it. And I think as we started growing up and becoming, I think you have to build a house. I don't think a house just happens. I think you have to be intentional. And I think we've been intentional with following God into how and what worship really is. In the teaching of Messiah and the teaching of Torah, I feel like God is showing us and leading us in the directions that are actually helping people in their lives. I feel like our house is a house of prayer. And I feel like there's a lot of you guys that are just absolute prayer warriors. And I can tell because of the shift in the spirit that the prayer ministry here is foundational. And man, you guys who come on Tuesday nights and who are part of the prayer team, man, you are what's making the house work. I believe, and I've seen because of all the stories, I believe this is a house of healing. I believe that there is hope here. I do believe that. I believe that we are being healed here. And so we've grown up. Now, I've had this sense over the last 4 or 5 years that there's more. I've been drawn by God into this idea of movement. Okay? Now, a house in movement's an RV. Okay? So, like, the house, we need a foundation, like right in the house. So, what God's been stirring in me, man, and I started seeing glimpses of it. And through a long process, God started showing me what it looks like to make disciples, man. And I feel like the church's biggest failure in the last 150 years is we've lost sight over even what it means to make disciples. We're horrible at making disciples. We don't even know what the word disciple means, much less how to make them. So God started impressing on me. I like that conviction term, impressing upon me. Convicting me that, hey, you don't know what you're even talking about. And if you really got it, you'd be making disciples. You'd be pouring into someone's life. And so I started making disciples, and I felt like then God was revealing to me my role, what I was supposed to be doing. He was showing me how to move. And man, I was getting excited. It was awesome. We were pumped up, and we were moving, we were going, and man, it was starting to unfold, and I was getting this vision of the way it's supposed to look. Man, and then February a year ago, we lost Chris. And if you're new here and you don't know Chris, man, you missed out. And I felt like with all of my heart that he was the one who God had risen up for the house. And that God was moving me. Like I'd built the house. I'd been working, and I felt like the house was there and it was becoming, but it needed a new fresh vision, a new fresh set of eyes. And I thought God had raised that person up, and then he just gone. And I hadn't been the same. And I know a lot of you guys, we haven't been the same, you know. It's hard. It takes a toll on you. And so as we start to just keep moving on, man, I'm lost. I'm like, God, man, I just felt like I was sure what you were doing. I mean, with certainty and clarity, I knew. And then I just decided, man, maybe this is all we are. That's all we're supposed to be. Maybe this is it. Maybe I'm just freaking out. Maybe I'm nomadic by nature. We wouldn't get over a 6-month lease on a place because, man, we had to go. Like, I just can't live in the same place and stay in the same place. I got to be gone. I was at my house yesterday for 24 hours. And I lost it. I'm not a homebody. Now, I can't take being at home. Give me a place to take a shower and lay down and sleep, and I'm up. I'm gone, man. I mean, I could live in a hotel. A different one every night. I can live in the same hotel. And so I thought, man, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just so jacked up, God's showing me something. I don't know. So I said, God, I love you. I'm here to serve you. If this is all that this is supposed to be, man, I'm happy. I mean, I'm good. I just felt like there was something else that was missing. And man, you got to remember, it's been 7 years since I started teaching and talking about the body in the temple. So you know how 7 years puts things away, you know, and you know, they're not white hot right in front of you anymore. So you just kind of whatever, you know. And you know it and you can talk about it, but it's not like that driving engine inside you. It's not perpetual, right? So all of a sudden, a few months ago, we get this opportunity. Now, I couldn't tell you how it happened. Well, I got to go back a second. Okay. We have a band here at the church, and the band, our worship band, is 64 West. And where that comes from is because we're on 64 West. It's like Jacob's Well. What should I call this? Well, it's Jacob's Well. So, I mean, it was like Captain Obvious. It wasn't like, wow, what would be the coolest name? It just kind of was. And so we had been playing, and you know, we've been playing together for years. After I lost Chris, me and Celia needed an outlet. Man, we had so much inside of us, so much hurt and so much pain and so much question and so much bewilderment and passion at the same time. So we started writing a bunch of songs, and we started playing a bunch of these songs, and we called it Blessed and Broken because that was one of Chris's last message he gave, and it was really It was really what we sensed deep inside of us, because we knew God had blessed us, but at the same time, we were very much broken people. And Chris's message was this, that whether you're blessed or broken, you're still in his hands. That was his message. And so we kind of just started writing these songs as Blessed and Broken. And then we started playing a few of them, and a few other people came in, a few other people. And then it just kind of started being this thing, and it's this different thing. So everybody's confused, right? Are you 64, Wes? Are you blessed and broken? I don't even know what you are. Well, it's because we don't know what we are. We're just jacked up people with a couple of different names. So we put these songs that this song Celia had wrote, and I'm telling you, we had a mic in the room and we hit record, right? We were writing the song. First time we played it, we had a mic in the room. There was like 3 or 4 of us. There's 4 of us here, and we just hit record. And that recording, it was all right, but we just did it so we wouldn't forget how we play it. That's how we write songs, because we have to record them, because next time we come together, we're like, no idea. Remember that song? No, we don't know. We have to start over from scratch every time, because we have no long-term memory. So we recorded it so we wouldn't forget it. Well, it got put on Reverb Nation, and somehow on Reverb Nation, somebody listened to it. We get, I forget what they call it, a recommendation to be included in the Extreme Tour. So we are like, well, I don't even know what that is, but we'll just see what happens. So we send in, they send us this thing, we have to send in an application, we send in an application, we get a call, and I don't remember all the details, but all I know is that it was just kind of this thing happening to us. I mean, you got to remember, this recording that everybody's basing this on was bad. And so we get this call, we send in our application, and when we first sent in the application, man, that's the first time I read our application, and I thought, if these guys don't want us to go on tour with them, and I don't want to be on tour with them, by this application. So we get a call from this guy, Uncle Jim, right? Uncle Jim. Now, Uncle Jim, he's got to be our guy, because this guy don't even own a shirt with sleeves in it. Got the big like West Coast Choppers thing, man. I walk into this room, I'm like, I could have picked our guy out of 1,000 people without ever seeing him before. I just knew. So anyway, we get a call from him, and like a few weeks ago, and they're like, we're putting you on the tour. Now, the deal was we were supposed to go to Nashville and have interviews before all this worked out. And so anyway, we go to Nashville, and I'm trying to make it short, but guys, you got to remember, this is such a huge deal. So we go to Nashville, and we're going through this interview thing. It's like a boot camp, and it is a boot camp, because they get you tired and delirious, and it's hard and it's exhausting. And if it wasn't so great and so inspired by God, I would have hated it. Because I mean, it's like 1:30 in the morning, and they're like, okay, next we're going to do this. I'm like, oh, no next. Man, my bedtime is 9. No, it's 1:30. This is morning, not night. So we had gone into these late nights. And man, we were on the streets and playing, and man, it was just the coolest thing ever. So we go in and we sit down, and we have all these questions. We can't figure out how the Blue Room works and how it fits into all this. And we sit down with this guy, and they start talking with him, and he starts filling us with all this input about having a venue. Well, Steve flips over his piece of paper, and this guy's one of the guys in the book, like some who's who book on all these industry people. This guy's just sitting there telling us all this stuff. So we're robbing him of every bit of information he has about everything. We're just taking it all in. And he goes, y'all are close to Dallas, man. Y'all ought to meet this guy, Alan Aguirre. He's from Dallas. He's lived there 20 years. He's in the music scene there. He could probably help you out. We're like, yeah, we heard Alan speak the night before. And that's the thing, man. The first night I got blown away by God the first night because God just spoke to me. I don't know if anybody else got anything, but he was just like, remember this, remember this, remember this. I've told you this. You should be doing this. It was like, whoa. So I started losing it. And I realized at that time what our church was. And God took me back to that place. The body of Christ in the temple, right? And he says, man, you got 64 West, which is your ministry there. But he said, you got Blessed and Broken, and that's your ministry out. And it's not a band. Neither one of these are bands. You got to understand, this is what God was showing me. These aren't bands. These are movements. This is what God is doing. This isn't about a band. This is a group of people who are banded together to take the kingdom of heaven out of this place into the world. To meet people where they're at. And it's not just musicians, it's music, it's a message, it's the lights, it's what we do here out. It's everything. And he started showing me that. I was getting so excited, man. It took me back to that night where God said, man, I want you to change the world. I was like, but it became so real. So anyway, we're sitting with this guy. He says, you should meet Alan McGuire. Well, come to find out, Alan McGuire is like somebody. I mean, like, he's got this resume that just runs off the page, man. He's the, and look at me. Alan McGuire's got like dreadlocks down to here. I mean, he's like, he's the godfather of Christian punk music. So they call us. We've been here all day going through all this. And it's amazing. God just moving like crazy. So they call us and say, your mentor wants to meet with you. Because they were personally mentoring, personally interviewing bands. So they're like, here's your mentor, and he'll be here in just a second. I turn around, and it's supposed to be, Uncle Jim had told us he wanted to meet with us, but so I'm sitting there waiting on Jim because I could see he's talking to somebody. And this guy taps him on the shoulder and says, hey, I'm your mentor. I'm Alan McGuire. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Because I've already heard him speak, and like he's like, personality-wise, we're not in the same ballpark. Well, I don't think anybody is, though. So, anyway, we go to this room, man. We sit down, and he dogs out Texas for 20 minutes. He's from L.A., and he got sent by God to Dallas, and he hated God for sending him to Dallas. He came out of Hollywood Boulevard. I mean, he came out of the Whiskey, the Roxy, man. He was out like in the 80s, So he dogs out Texas for 20 minutes. Come to find out, man, he's just testing us to see, what kind of people we are. Are we going to be all offended or whatever? So then we go to this room. He says, so tell me what you're about. Well, I started telling him, and I said, you have to know something. I firmly believe Jesus is Messiah. And instantly, Steve and Celia decide, well, we're fixing to find out real quick if we're fixing to be escorted out of here. Because they already knew wheels were fixing to come off. Because, man, don't ask me unless you want an answer. So I started telling, man, that I believe what I believe about Messiah and what I believe that we're in, what we should be into, that we shouldn't be converting people, but we should be introducing people to life. That it's not about religion, but it's about the kingdom of heaven that's at hand, that it's about that there is truth and he is Messiah, and that he came and he restored and he redeemed the world, and that in restoring and redeeming the world, the difference between me and other people is they just don't know they're redeemed. And he looked around the room, man, and it got real funky, right? And he said, is he your leader? And he asked everybody, man. And we're like, yeah, he's our pastor. And he asked them, do you believe this? And everybody in the room was like, yeah. And he gets up and he goes to the door, and Steve thinks, man, all right, that's it, we're out here. We're done because it's over. And we said something about the tour. And he said, you already been called and told you're on the tour? Because like we thought everybody had, but nobody had. And you got to remember, man, our CD, our song that we sent them, they just grabbed it off of some website. I told Alan, I said, we're not here for a record deal. We're not like musicians in the industry. I said, man, honestly, we don't have a CD because what we do is worship, and you can't really capture it on disc. So like we made one up because you guys said you needed one. So that's why. Like we sat in an office and did it in like 2 days, spent, $1 on it. He got up and he went to the door and he said, you're already on the tour? And I said, yeah, they told us, they want us to do the first leg. And he said, I was going to tell them, put you on the tour. They have to have you on the tour right now. This dude's not even heard us play. I mean, you don't even know if we have instruments. We're not young and hip and cool. Well, not all of us. There's a move of God, man. And the thing was, Alan, he looked at me and he said, you move me, and nobody moves me. And he got down on his knees and he got down on my feet and he started anointing my feet and praying on me, man. And telling you, dude, it felt like the roof was falling in. I can't explain. Like all of us were in this room, and the presence of God came in such a cloud, like in a thickness that you couldn't breathe. And so God started just really just showing me all of these things and all of these different, what he wants of us. And so I tell Alan, I'm like, look, we can only do the first couple of weeks of the tour. We're grown-ups. We're not kids, man. We have like responsibilities and jobs and like kids and no money. And I said, he asked me, and he said, do you feel like you're called to this? And I said, there's no question. God has told me I need to do this tour. And he said, why aren't you going? And I said, I got faith, man. I'm not afraid to step out on faith. If you don't know me, man, I'll drop everything, sell everything, and be gone. I mean, I was just like, I'm nomadic by nature, so don't tempt me. But I said, I can't speak on faith for my band. I mean, I can't step out on faith for them. So I can, and he said, why aren't you going? And I'm like, what do you mean? I said, this is like we're a band. And he said, well, you play guitar, she sings, right? I'm like, yeah. He said, do the tour. And I was like, but the rules said that, you can't bring anybody on tour. I got little kids, and bring them. I was like, just bring them. Bring them. He said, you've got to do what God tells you you've got to do. So we leave the room and we go out, and like I'm tripped out already just a whole lot because I'm losing it. So we run into Uncle Jim, and I'm like, Uncle Jim, man, I know we told you we could only do 2 weeks of the tour, but if you hadn't replaced us on the rest of it, then Alan said, we'd be good. Go order. He looked at me and said, I never took you off. So I knew you was going to do it. Man, and I was just blown away. Well, next morning we get up, and this way God's just doing this whole week, man. I mean, everything just like God. I mean, it was unbelievable. Next morning we get up, and there's a Facebook post that says, go to Stickers and More table and enter a drawing for free t-shirts, 25 free t-shirts, band t-shirts. So we do. And they get to the end of the thing, man, and they're like, okay, the drawing for the free t-shirts. And there's like, Celia's Story, Blessed and Broken. I was like, of course. And at this point, I'm telling you, I would be more shocked had she not won. This was like, everybody was like, woo. I was like, Keith just got up and walks off. He just can't take anymore, man. You would have thought Keith was like Quincy Jones or something, man, because like he's walking around. Everybody who sees Keith's giving him a CD, giving him a disc or something. He comes back, he's dumping his pockets out with all these bands, music and stuff. I was like, dude, do you know everybody? He said, the people just come up and talk to me and give me their CDs. And I'm like, I don't know any of them. So it's just this thing that was going on. So here's the deal, and I'm sorry I'm going so long, but I want you to understand this is not a band. This is not about our music. The point I want you to see is we were invited to this mission, to this musicianary ministry, to take the kingdom of heaven because somebody saw something real and authentic in this. And they wanted to go out there. And they didn't even care if we could play music. That's us. That's not a band. Okay, that's us as a church. They invited us, what we do, to take it to the world. And what God showed me and why I have to do this is because I need to learn. Because when this tour's over, I need to know how to take this ministry to the world. So I'm going on a learning, educational mission journey to learn. And when I get back, man, pack up, because you guys who are going to be part of Blessed and Broken, we're going to be out of here a lot. Not necessarily on the weekends, but we're going to be out of here taking this out there to the people who need it. You understand that this isn't a band, this is a movement. And we have to take what we have in here, what we've experienced in here, the resurrection and the life that's in here, we have to get it out there. And if we don't get it out there, it's going to burn us. Alan said, he said, man, you look like you're about to give birth. And I'm like, dude, I've lost like 30 pounds, man. He said, no, there's fire, there's something in you that if it don't come out, it's going to kill you. And I'm like, I know, I've been trying to tell you that. I just don't have words, I can't tell you. Here's what it is. Weirdest thing, man. Anybody read Oswald Chambers, Most from a Heist? Awesome devotionals, right? Well, I read them, but I just sporadically jump in. Like, I don't read on the days. Like, wherever it falls, I'm in. Like, because I figure, whatever God's got to say to me, he don't need a page number. So yesterday I opened up this, man, and this is the message. And I thought, wow, this is new to me. And Oswald writes this like 100 years ago. This is my Most for Heist. This is for June 19th. So in a few weeks, you guys will get there, okay? June 19th. Do you love me? And tend my sheep. John chapter 21, verse 16. That's what Oswald says. Jesus did not say to make converts to your way of thinking, but he said to look after his sheep. We consider what we do in the way of Christian work as service, yet Jesus Christ calls service to be what we are to him, not what we do for him. Today, we have substituted doctrinal belief. Today, and man, I think it's got worse since his day. Today, we have substituted doctrinal belief for personal belief. And that is why so many people are devoted to causes and so few devoted to Jesus. People do not really want to be devoted to Jesus, but only to the cause he started. See, we like the idea of being Christian, and we like doing Christian things. But we'd really like to do it without Christ calling us to the purity and life that he has set apart for us. That was me added that. Oswald didn't say that. Our Lord's primary obedience, when he's talking about this, Jesus' primary obedience was to the will of his Father, not to the needs of the people. How have we missed that? It's to the will of the Father, not to the needs of the people. How many times in Christianity do we get pushed to the needs of the people and miss the will of the Father? Now, the will of the Father is going to take care of the needs of the people, right? You have to understand me. But our mission isn't to the needs of the people, but to the will of the Father. If saving people was the natural outcome of his obedience. He says, our Lord's primary obedience was to the will of the Father, not to the needs of the people. The saving of people was the natural outcome of his obedience to the Father. If I'm devoted solely to the cause of humanity, I will soon be exhausted and come to the point where my love will waver and stumble. But if I love Jesus Christ personally and passionately, I can serve humanity even though people may treat me like a doormat. Man, Oswald nailed it. If we're serving because it's who we are and we're taking this out because of the will of God, then He's the one who sustains it. He's the one who ordains it. I looked at Alan in that room and I said, man, I have to be honest with you. I don't know how we got here. I don't know how we got here. This happened to us because I feel like God has ordained this day, this place for us to be right here. And I don't know how it happened. I couldn't even go back and tell you how it happened. I can't tell you, we leave Thursday, and I can't tell you how that happened. I don't think anybody on this tour has ever heard us play. I don't think they know what to do with us because we're like, 30.
40.
We're not an extreme sports skate park kind of band. I mean, we can be, but we're not in general, right? I don't know how it happens, but I do know that God is in it. This is what we are, this is what we're about, and this is where we're going. All of us, all of us. This is where God's taking us. I need your help, man. I'm going to miss some time here. Part of the band's going to be here at different times. There's going to be, I don't know. It's going to be a hodgepodge of whatever. The thing is, I need you. I need you to maintain the integrity of the house. You can't take the body and say, okay, we'll neglect the house. We've got to maintain the integrity of the temple. At the same time, the body does what the body of Messiah does. Okay, we have to do this. It's all of our responsibility. This is not my church. I've told you that 1,000 times. It's on all of us. It's on all of us. You're on tour as much as I'm on tour. And this isn't a tour, man. I hate that word because this is nothing more than a musicianary journey. That's all it is. It's not a glamorous tour. Look, definitely not glamorous. We don't have we are the roadies. We're the ones who set up, the ones who tear down, the ones who hand out the flyers, the ones who minister in the streets, the ones who sleep on the floor, the ones who eat, whatever it is church people bring to visiting bands. Whether it's green or not, suffering for the gospel. No. It's all of us, guys. And I just want you to understand so much what this is about. This isn't, well, they're abandoning us. I'm not abandoning them. I'm taking us out. I think what we have is the greatest thing on earth, and I think that everybody needs this. I'm convinced that everybody needs this. And they can't get it if they live in Michigan. And they can't get it if they live in Illinois. And we're going everywhere. And we're taking it as far and wherever God takes us. And this is what we're going to do. And then when we get back, I'm going to teach you how to do it. And we're going to do it. Okay? We're going to do it. We're going to take it out. The whole thing, the whole production, we're going to take it. I want you to be excited about it. So, Wednesday night, we're going to have a send-off party, a launch party. We're going to get together. It's going to be our last practice. We leave Thursday. I don't think we get to practice between now and then. So we're going to have one last practice, and we're going to invite you to come to it. So don't expect a concert or show. You'll see our practices aren't as No, let me say that. Our practices a lot of times have been just unbelievable. I mean, dude, you should miss band practice a lot of times. Howard was here the other night, and he's like, man, I just wanted to stand up and jump up and down. I'm like, it's Howard. The Spirit of God moves when his people praise. He inhabits that praise. And so we're going to worship together and prepare. And so we ask you to come and join us, man, and let's party together. Let's have a send-off together, man. Let's celebrate that what God's doing in us. It's going to be good. It'll be good. We'll just I don't know, we'll get some snacks, some chips and salsa or something, and just, yeah, that'd be great, man. Yeah, we'll just bring a bunch of coolers full of drinks and we'll have hot dogs and whatever. Just come. We'll do it about 6 o'clock on Wednesday night if that's all right with everybody. Don't eat before you come. Come up here. We'll hang out. We'll eat. We'll play. We'll talk. We'll go home. It'll be good. All right? So I just want you to know, man, this is what God's doing in this place. And I'm sorry it took so long, but, man, I'm so excited. And I wanted to tell you before we left. I'm going to be gone a couple of weeks. Don't not come just because I'm not here. It's going to be better. It's going to be great. I've got something, man. God's showing me what to do here when I'm gone, and I'm more excited about that than being gone. I mean, it's going to be good what's going on here. So I guess that's all. Let me pray for you, and then we'll close out. So you'll be up here. So just pray with me. God, I thank you.
Your name. She said, don't